27 grams. Boom!
Hit that perfect.
Really?
Today, we're talking about a practical guide to tracking macros. Macros, or IIFYM, if it fits in your macros, is a flexible nutrition concept that a lot of people have been using for the last few years, but recently it's been taking off. And you hear a lot of people talking about macros. What are macros? First and foremost, macros are your proteins, carbs, and fats. It's a way of tracking calories without just tracking calories. You need to measure your proteins, carbs, and fats, and I have all my clients doing this. Now, when it comes to tracking macros, it can get a little tricky with certain foods. So I want to show you a real quick practical guide to tracking that. First, we're going to start with meat, chicken, fish, any sort of meat. Everything needs to be weighed on a food scale to make sure you know exactly what you're doing. For the most part, the average chicken breast has 8.6 grams of protein per ounce. You don't need to take out your notebooks and figure that out. You have apps like MyFitnessPal and other sort of macro counting apps that can help you. But there's an issue, especially when it comes to practicality. Life is not perfect. When you weigh chicken breast, you weigh it before you cook it, it'll be heavier. If you weigh it after you cook it, it'll be lighter. If you weigh it from baking it, it's different than weighing it from frying it. There's a lot of variability. So when it comes to a practical guide to tracking, weigh it after you cook it and be within a few grams. You don't have to be crazy about this. Too many people are measuring the exact ounce and 0.0005. You don't have to be that crazy with it. Get yourself a food scale, that way you know exactly what you're eating, and leave yourself some room for flexibility. When it comes to veggies, like asparagus, any green leaf, any sort of green veggies, some people get a little crazy and they want to track every single ounce. Now, I have no problem with that, but I feel that can create a really bad relationship with food. So for the most part, you're not going to catch me cooking with cilantro and weighing out and measuring exactly how many carbs, proteins, fats, and fibers and all this stuff that's in there, okay? Green veggies generally don't need to be tracked. They digest very slowly. It's okay. You're gonna live. It won't make you fat, I promise you that. But there is an issue when it comes to cooking with sauces and oils and butters. There's a few different things you can do. For the overly aggressive people who really need to track everything, when you use an oil like grapeseed oil, that's actually my favorite because of the taste personally. If you're using over 1 tablespoon, you're gonna need to track, because if you see, there's about 14 grams of fat for every tablespoon. And if you're just loading oil on there, you're gonna get some unknown calories that you're not accounting for. But if you're using 1 tablespoon or less and you're cooking a meal, you don't have to be crazy with it. But if that still bothers you, feel free to use something like a cooking spray or even a calorie-free butter spray, so you don't have to really worry about it. When you use things like oils or butters, even I can't believe it's not butter, you're still gonna get some fat in there, and fat has the highest calorie content. Now, if you wanna be super fancy, you can use oil like this and get something like a mister, which actually mist this a little more evenly so you don't have to use as much and still get the same effect. When it comes to carbs, things like rice and sweet potatoes, you're going to weigh this out. Now, this package tells me there's 144 grams per serving, or about a cup. I can use a measuring cup if I want after I cook it, or I can weigh it out by gram on the food scale. Either way. You don't have to be specific to where it's like you had 143 and you need 1 more gram to fit. It's okay. But you have to be attentive to what you're eating and how much is left, so you know you're tracking and you're not killing yourself by overdoing it or underdoing it. With potatoes, sweet potatoes, when you make this, if you're like me, you probably don't eat the skin. So you're gonna have some left. If you accounted for the skin, you're probably sacrificing some carbs you can get back, and you don't need to starve yourself. So you can always eat, you weigh it out, you eat it, and whatever's left, you subtract from your carbs. That's a great way to add a little bit more carbs into your diet without overdoing it. Fruit. Oh, people think because veggies don't need to be accounted for the most part, people are like, oh, fruit's the same thing, it's natural, why do I need to worry about it? Well, certain fruits have a lot more carbs than others and a lot more calories than others. Take it, for instance, blueberries have a lot more calories than strawberries do when you compare them. A quarter cup, meaning this little amount of dried cherries, has 27 grams of carbs. That's more than a Snickers bar in this little amount. So you have to be careful. You do need to track your fruits and the amounts. You can always weigh it on the scale in grams, or you can base it off, a handheld. A handheld is about half a cup. One of the biggest issues with counting macros, especially with the fitness freaks out there, they love peanut butter, as do I. I personally like the Jif cinnamon peanut butter, but that's just because of the taste. Now, the serving size on this is 2 tablespoons. A tablespoon is tiny. Most people fit as much peanut butter as they can on 1 spoon and try and fill their mouths. That is not a serving. You're most likely getting 2 to 3 servings when you think you're only getting 1, or you're convincing yourself you're only getting 1. I am very lenient with people tracking their macros and being flexible, but I am not okay with you lying to yourself, okay? A lot of clients come to me, I'm gaining weight, but I'm in a calorie deficit. You're not, because 1 serving for you is 1 jar, and that's the problem, okay? So we need to be real. As you guys know, I'm diabetic, but I love cookies. Cookies, they're not a problem because I'm really good at eating them. So I can be as specific as I want, but like we said, this is practical. We're trying to be practical here. There's gonna be times where I have a glass of milk. Now I could weigh it out in 240 milliliters, or I can guesstimate and say, hey, this cup is 16 ounces. I have about half a cup filled, so it's gonna be about 8 ounces. And if we look at the serving, it's 1 cup. That's gonna be about 1 serving. You don't have to be crazy with your tracking. You need to be consistent. Too many people try to be perfect for 2 weeks, rather than being great and consistent for 2 months to a year. That's the more effective route. Don't drive yourself crazy with being obsessed with counting every single micro and macronutrient. Macros are a great way to hit your goals. But what fun is that if you're driving yourself crazy? It's not. Track your calories, track your macros through an app, very easy. Just don't go overboard with it, okay? Next week I'll be showing you guys how to cook chicken and make it not taste bad. It's a huge benefit to me because I personally hate chicken. Hope you guys enjoyed and stay tuned. Thanks for watching, guys. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Every Friday we'll have a new nutrition video up for you. So thank you again.